In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to set up this 120 gallon tank for a bearded dragon, but not only set it up, do it cheaply, simply, efficiently, and in line with the psychology of your bearded dragon. This is the video for you. This tank is perfect, so look down below, there's a discount code, get yourself one. Now the first thing we're going to do is set up our bearded dragon's basking spot. Now I'm using Welsh mountain slate, but you can use any rocks you get from outside. Just give them a clean and they're good to go. I'm going to make a cave by putting one here, one at the back, here, and this last piece is going to be the lid of our cave, here. If you didn't know, bearded dragons will dig burrows and hibernate during the winter and go there to sleep. So this creates that burrow for our bearded dragon to go to sleep, but also can sit up top and bask where we put our heating and lighting shining down onto these rocks. But that will come later in the video. The next thing is substrate. We're going to make our own substrate mix. I'm using a bag of topsoil. You can find these linked on Amazon down below. And we're mixing it with play sand. Now this mixture is super cheap but super easy to mix. Let's do it. At the moment this is just regular old dirt, but we're going to add the sand and turn this into our mixture. And now we want to get in here with some good old-fashioned elbow grease and mix this mixture up. And what you want to do is get it into a real sandy, loamy state. Now it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be largely mixed because over time your bearded dragon is going to dig through it and mix it up itself. Now you'll notice that I actually filled the burrow. And the reason that I've done that is because over time, when your bearded dragon explores the surroundings, I want the bearded dragon to actually dig out its burrow so that it feels like it made that burrow. Giving your animal a sense of control in their habitat is essential for a happy bearded dragon. So we've got our sand, we've got our rockery, we've got our burrow. What's left that would be in the bearded dragon's habitat? Trees, shrubs, logs, wood. This right here is a piece of bogwood. You can buy these online on Amazon, link down below, or if you find some outside, if you clean it up, you can use that too. We're going to place this at the back of this setup, like this. Next we're going to use some cork wood. This is rot resistant and mold resistant and it lasts forever. You can find this link down below on Amazon. I'm going to place this, almost dig it in to the substrate in this corner. Now the brilliant thing about cork is it's so lightweight. Some of the problems that you can have is if your bearded dragon digs underneath an object and removes the soil from beneath, they can cause it to collapse and crush themselves. That's why I put the rocks on the bottom. But cork, I can put it on top of the substrate and know that it's so lightweight, they can't be crushed. So we're going to build up the back here, and I'll explain why it's so important to build up the back in a minute. But a piece maybe like here, maybe a piece here, maybe something like that. Have it like a fallen area of logs along the floor, but also an area to climb up on. Next we're going to use some branches. Bearded dragons actually sleep in the trees and on branches in the summer so that snakes can't sneak up on them. So I am going to place this up into this corner here. I'm going to arrange it like so to follow the flow. This is going to allow our bearded dragon to sit here if they want to and hug the branch like they would outdoors in nature, or get up here and sit up here. I'm going to add some more branches up across the top like this, and one there. That's going to lock everything in place so they don't fall forward, but also give another option to go this way. Now I've built up the back here for a reason. Bearded dragons are much like meerkats. And I know that sounds strange, but the brain, the psychology of a bearded dragon is they want to sit up and look around and want to look for birds. Bearded dragons, their entire ethos is they want to see what's coming ahead of time so they can run away. Whether that's sat up looking like a meerkat for birds, so they can see a bird of prey and run away, or see snakes coming around them and then choose to run away. Even in the wild, under a bush, if you get down on floor level and look across the floor in the wild, there'll be like a stem and then bush. But from the ground up to the first branches, you can see for miles across the floor. And bearded dragons love that. So of course, bearded dragons love to have log piles and nooks and crannies to get into and dig under, make their little burrows. But they also want open space to see, because that makes them feel secure and safe. But of course, this isn't the wild and we only have so much space. So my design is divided between their log piles and their climbing, and open space to see what's coming, and also open space to run around. The next part is plants. These are from the grocery section or the grocery aisle from the supermarket. Sometimes they have little herb pots. This is exactly where this is from. This is mint and it cost me like £1.50. Your bearded dragon can actually eat mint, so it's safe to go in their enclosure. And I'm going to be honest with you, they're going to destroy this, but that's okay because it's £1.50 and I'll swap it out each week whenever I want. I'm going to keep it in its pot for that reason so I can just pull it out. But my plan is to put the pot in places like this. So it looks like we have weeds and plants growing out of the background for our bearded dragon to forage and eat and munch on. I'm going to do exactly the same with thyme. I'm going to place it somewhere like this. My next plant is mother's tongue. Again, this isn't really one for the diet, but if they do nibble on it, they're not really going to keel over. Again, this cost me £5, a price range where I don't care if it gets destroyed. These are very heat tolerant, so we're going to place it over here. This is a jade plant, same gig. And now we can move on to the heating and lighting, which is the core part of our bearded dragon's care. Now, you're going to want a heat lamp, and that heat lamp can be screwed into a dome clamp lamp like this. Again, the heat lamps can be found cheap on Amazon down below, and so can the dome, actually. The dome can be as cheap as like $14. I would advise starting with a 100 watt heat lamp and plonking it over our rock on this side. This heat lamp is the first part of our basking spot, our sunshine patch, and it's going to heat up this rock where our bearded dragon can sit and flay out and sunbathe like they would outside. Now, just like outside, where you would have a patch of sunshine and a patch of shade under a tree or a log or just behind an object's shadow. So what we're going to do is keep all of our lighting on one side and leave the other side to a bit of shade. And now you're going to want a temperature gun. What you do is you point and shoot at objects and it tells you how hot an object is. What you want to do is point it at your basking lamp right underneath your heat lamp and measure it. Now we want it to be somewhere between 100 to 105 on that basking rock. Your bearded dragon wants to sit there and sizzle away under the intense Australian sun. If you find that your basking spot isn't getting hot enough, you can change up a wattage. Or if it's getting way too hot and your bearded dragon goes nowhere near it because it's way too hot, you can go down a wattage. So basically go up, down and find that Goldilocks zone until you get those perfect temperatures. Okay, so we talked about how hot your bearded dragon can get in the sunshine, but what about how hot it is that day? How hot is the air that day? Well, you need to measure it with this, a digital thermometer. And you can find these linked down below. I like to place mine over here. The reason being it's outside of the sunshine and actually is going to measure the air temperature of your enclosure. If I put this, say here, in the sunshine, all it's going to do is heat up my thermometer. Then that thermometer isn't reading the air, it's just seeing how hot it can get under the lamps. So keep it in the shade and it'll measure how hot the air temperature is. Now, that air temperature can be anywhere from like the low 70s up to like 95 max. So heating a bearded dragon is really easy. Get this right, and as long as this is between that wide range, you're golden. So the next part of our sunshine patch is UVB. You want a nice long tube called a T5 like this. If you don't know what to get, look down below and I'll tell you exactly what to get. You really want a high strength one, like a 14% or a 12%. And then you're going to place that next to your heat lamp on a sunshine patch. Now back in the 90s and the early 2000s, most keepers would have stopped here. But there's actually one more thing you can add, and that is an LED spotlight. These are made for plant growth, but they're intense and they direct it onto one portion. It plays a role in how your bearded dragon sees. It goes through their skull and tickles their brain. It changes their activity levels. It helps with the plants to grow. It helps them warm up as well as the heat lamp. You can find that link down below, but then place that next to your heat lamp and your UVB tube. Look at the difference in that brightness, how much it brings that tank to life. That is so key for a bearded dragon that is used to that intense Australian sunlight. To have that bright, powerful sunlight directed onto that basking spot for them to warm up. Have all of this on for like 12 hours from like 9 AM to like 9 PM for example. And then at night time, turn the whole thing off. Bearded dragons in the wild get really cold, so your bearded dragon can take it going into the 60s in your home, no problem. It's actually healthier for them to get that nighttime drop. Just like you, your bearded dragon needs to sleep. If you want help with your bearded dragon care, then there's a huge library on this channel of bearded dragon care videos, guiding you through hibernation, diet, all of it. And if you like these types of setup videos, subscribe, because this is the channel for you.